Okay, welcome everybody. We're here for Evolution Accelerator. This is level 2, lesson 1, and we're into time management systems part 1. I have with me, as always, Dick Chilton. Dick, say hello.
How you doing, guys? Looking forward to it.
And we've got a great lesson for you today on time management. This is something that we've spent quite a bit on time on with working with our clients over the past several years, and it's certainly something that I've consistently worked at myself. As our company has grown, it's the demands on your time expand, and you have to get more organized, more efficient, more disciplined to continue to grow and be successful. And it doesn't change at any level, really. As long as you're growing, this is an issue for everybody. Dick has a great story about a executive training he actually went to where they covered the same thing. Dick, do you want to mention that?
Yeah, I was this one I was with Occidental Petroleum. They sent us to Houston for some training. These were all mid-level managers. You had to have been in the program at least 6 months and not over 2 years. So it was for some new managers. And I believe there was 22 of us there, and the instructor said, "There's a pad on your desk." He says, "I'd like you to write on this pad, what is the single most biggest problem that you have experienced since becoming managers?" So we all took 30 seconds to a minute to put something on the paper. So he asked everybody to start reading what they put down. And about 18 of the 22 people right up front said the biggest single problem they had was time management. The other 4 of us that didn't have that down there changed ours to time management also, because that's the single biggest problem we have as managers or as entrepreneurs when you're taking on bigger workloads.
Yep. So it's a problem for everybody at every level of growth, and the more you grow, the more it's an issue, and you've got to tame that beast. So we're going to talk about some strategies to do just that in our lesson today. As we've already said, one of the number one challenges we hear from our members is, as they're growing their businesses, how do we fit it all in? And how do I have time to implement this stuff? The information you're giving me is great. The training is great. How do I implement it in the business? I don't have time. We hear I'm overwhelmed with too many things, and they are, because they're doing, working in the business as well as trying to work on the business, trying to have a life, maybe support a family, have time for their own health and fitness and workouts. I mean, it is a juggle of all those responsibilities. And so everybody has to grow.
And most of us at some point in time will, if not in the past, if not now, in the future, we will be overwhelmed with just too darn many things to do. And it's very difficult because the more you grow, the more the things grow that have to be managed.
Yep. And they're all symptoms of time management. Poor planning, which is a huge one. You've absolutely got to control the schedule in your plan. And it's also a problem of prioritization, because when there are so many things, not everything's going to get done. So what are the things that must come first, must come second, are absolutely critical to drive the business and to drive your organization's success? And then, can the things that aren't prioritized, are they even important? And if they are, who can you hand them off to? All those are important for criteria to make decisions.
And I think you'll find in looking at this chart, you can't pull any one piece of it out. These are integral. If you're poor planning, you're not going to be prioritizing stuff. Your time management will be in chaos. And it just, if you get control of one, you will be able to, control the rest of them.
Okay, so Dick, take us away with some of this stuff here.
Well, the first thing you have to do is set aside the time, to do this. And this is where oftentimes, this is the one thing we have to understand right up front. You have to invest time in order to manage your time. That's a tough concept, but you are going to have to invest some time in it. Then you're going to have to find some adequate space. You can't just carry your time management tools with you all the time. It can't be done. And then we're going to talk about some of the tools that you will need to do this. First thing we want to do is set aside some time. And I think right up front, you want to block a couple days to do this, because once we get into it in the next couple slides, you're going to see how much time really needs to be invested in it and how much thought has to go into this. So we use the method that you're going to get. You're going to hear us talk about a lot, and that's blocking time. And this is blocking time on your calendar to get to where you want to be. And we talk about staying the course. You can't just start this thing and then the phone ring and you go off on another tangent. Don't do that. And we're going to show you some little techniques as we move through here, how you're going to be able to stay on course and get this darn thing done and done right.
Yeah, and this is such an important lesson. It's why we're putting it really first here early on in the training, is because getting this right is really going to set you up for your success and continued accelerated growth as we work through this coursework and material. And so we just have to really take a weekend, whatever is appropriate in your schedule, really just to work on you. And if you've got distractions at home, maybe you can just go at a hotel for the weekend. And just to block yourself at a room to work on this stuff. Sometimes that's what's needed. Or go to the library, and work in a cubby or whatever the case may be, like you're, a serious student again. So you can really just focus on this with no distractions.
And we talk about finding space, and as you could see, look at the chaos on your screen right now. Would you like to work in that? Would you like to come in the morning and sit down to that and try to work? No, of course you wouldn't. So we're going to have to find some space that's dedicated to us, that we can work in. And there's some real big essentials here. And one of them is enough writing surface. You have to have a surface so that you can move things around and put a yellow pad down and do your writing. And it has to be expandable in order to accommodate some of the basic fundamental things like a phone, computer, fax, printer. You're going to have a file drawer, stacking trays, and it can be at home or at the office. But this has to be dedicated just for you and just for these tools. And here's the big one is, in my opinion, the big one is don't share your space. And as you can see, that nice little corner desk set, with the hutch over the top is really nice. And I say don't share because you don't want people coming in picking something up off your desk, because you as a good planner and you as a good time manager are going to know exactly where everything you own is. And everything that you use, you're going to know where it is. It's going to be at your fingertips. And when people come in, they'll muddle it up for you. So be selfish here. And some of the tools that we put on here, and you look at these, excuse me, and you say, oh, this is all just common sense stuff. Folks, it isn't just common sense stuff, because we see it every day, day in and day out, where people won't do this. You've got to have, holding trays. You've got to have pens, pencils, Post-it notes, yellow writing pads, paper clips, binder clips, staplers with staples. You don't know how many times that I've seen people grab their stapler, it's empty, and guess what? They can't find the staples. And how much time do you think they waste looking for staples? I have no idea, but I tell you what, it's an aggravation because it breaks up whatever you've been doing. It ruins that piece of it. And you need Scotch tape, file folders, and above all right now, paper shredder, because you're going to be shredding most of your sensitive documents. And then to finish it off, you'll need a calendar and some sort of a planner or even notebook. But these little things, this list is tiny. It's minutia, but it's all extremely important. Like looking for a paper clip or looking for a binder clip. You don't want to have to do that. You want those at your fingertips, and you'll find your life will be a lot simpler when you've got all of these available to you.
Yeah, and I would encourage everybody to go on a shopping trip. Go to your local office supply store, grab this list here, and pick up these supplies. One of the most important things you can do is get organized with that office space, whether it be home office or work office, or ideally both, and have the right tools at both locations. And so when you go down to work, the tools are there, the space is neat and organized and ready for you to be efficient, productive. And I'll tell you, that's so important. For some time, when I had moved back to Orlando, I had my office was all set up and working well, but my home office was not. And so I really, as a result, just didn't want to do anything there. And so I'd come down to the office to work when I had, something to do, and it was not the normal business hours or something. But that also, was not really efficient either. So I actually went and, spent some money to get my home office hooked up, and I've got virtually the exact same setup at my home office that I do my work office. The same exact things, like the chair, the dual monitors, all the stuff that I've got in my personal, workstation. And I think that's so important. When I sit down, I go to work, it's what I need is right there, and, arm's length away, and I can get it done. You need to set up the same type of structure for yourself.
Yeah, here's this one we put on there, brain dump, and this is a big deal. This is bigger than a big deal, because what happens is you have to make everything visible. It's what do you do, and you want to write it down, because keep in mind, your mind is going to be muddled with a gazillion thoughts, and as long as these are thoughts, they're abstract. You can't take action on most of them. You can take action on maybe one big idea, and you can start working on it. But while these are just thoughts in your brain, the phone rings, all of those are gone. But if you'll take the time to do the brain dump, you make all of this visible, and it becomes real. Once you take it from your brain and put it into writing, and then it's a real thing, and it's actionable at that point. And we want to take a look at those from what you're trying to organize is your daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and even yearly. And normally you would start from the backside, start yearly. What is it you do, yearly and quarterly, and work it back down to monthly. And that's all you're planning. Then you take it to weekly. That's most of your work is done off of a weekly calendar, and you break it down into a daily. And you want to add professional and personal onto this, because it's all things that are in your mind, and it's all things that you absolutely have to organize. And one of the good things to help you do this is get help from your business colleagues, or maybe even friends and family, because we find that when we go through some of these coaching calls or coaching sessions, even live, we find that when there's a couple people there, an awful lot, it's about a third bigger. The list becomes about a third bigger when you have outside influence, because you absolutely can't think of everything. And as we always say, the devil's in the detail. It's the part that screws up your whole time management system is the stuff you didn't think about, and it continually nags you.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that we're going to show you some worksheets. I mean, that's part of the homework this lesson is we're going to pull up some worksheets in a little bit and show you exactly the homework. But the main thing you're going to do is do a brain dump on all the things that you're doing and that aren't getting done, that need to get done. And then we're going to break those up into these frames of time, the yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily, as Dick said. And you'll find the most important controls are going to be the weekly and the monthly. That is really what drives the business on a regular basis, and then where you kind of reset is in the monthly process. But I just want to reinforce exactly what Dick said, and that is every time we do this exercise with clients, even we do it ourselves, you come up with one list, and then you review it with your friends and family or your work colleagues, and they say, oh, what about this, and what about that, and what about this, and you forget because things just aren't in your frame of reference. And so it's so important to do that, to go through this with someone else in your life, to talk about what you may be missing. You'll pick up so much more, and they'll probably learn a bit too, by you can share some of the education that you're going through on this process right now. Okay, so once we've got our lists, it's time to organize the lists, and we've got to, what we say, make them actionable. And you got to look at breaking this down into the professional side and the personal side. So, Dick, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, you want to take your original brain dump and then put it into a couple different lists, and start off with the professional. And as a professional, your first question is, what can I delegate? If you have an administrative assistant, you're going to be able to delegate 30 to 50% of the stuff on your list. We have enough experience with it. We know that. And then you want to know, on that list, what is it that I can absolutely just mark off? What can I trash right now? And then the other things that you want to look at, what is going to become a project and what's going to become an action item. And projects are usually multiple action steps required, whereas an action item is just one or two action steps, maybe a phone call, or a little you're discussing something with another person, or maybe it's just something you have to do. Maybe it's an errand you have to run. That's just an action item. But the projects get quite big, and we have ways to manage projects also. But keep in mind, what can I delegate? What can I throw away? What are projects, and what action items can I do? Then on the personal side, it's the exact same process, and you're going to find that on the personal side, you may have to coordinate with a family member, whether it be your wife, husband, whatever, because you're going to have to coordinate an awful lot of your personal with someone else. And then you want to put everything on the same calendar. Don't separate your calendars, because you have to look at it in total and look at the different block times, and there you'll start managing from there.
Yeah, the worst thing you can do is have one calendar, for your home life, one for the business life, and it just doesn't work, because you don't ever look at two calendars. You need, there's only one of you, and there's time is always ticking. So, really having that one image to look at of your block time and your priorities and scheduled activities and events is absolutely critical to effectively manage the time as well as execute the time. So. Make sure that you get everything into one calendar as you get into blocking time for these various activities.
Yeah, just real quick, my wife keeps a separate calendar, and then I keep a composite calendar. So we coordinate actually once a week on our calendars. So we usually do it on Sunday mornings, but we do have to coordinate our calendars. And then I have a split screen calendar on mine, so I look at professional and personal basically as one site picture. I can see it all on one screen.
All right, so let's talk about the calendar and really putting everything into the calendar. So, Dick, take us away with that.
Yeah, this is where we talk about breaking it down into the quarterly, yearly, back to monthly, and then weekly and daily. And we show the calendar here is just that's a week, and the block times on there are in different colors, because this is basically how we manage the calendar, by blocking the major, we call it the big rocks. You get the big rocks on there first, and then start filling in around it. But what we really want to look at is what has come down from yearly, quarterly, down into the monthly calendar. You'd look at it first. You're planning for the month. The first thing you would bring up is your monthly calendar. Then you break that down, and you'll be populating your weekly calendar off of that. And this is why when you do a monthly, you don't have any surprises with those little quarterly and yearly things that pop up without you knowing it. You will know it because you've put it into your year's calendar already. And we do all of this. The real key to all of it is this big word, block time. As you can see, we're blocking several different kinds of work. One of them, you'll block project work. You may want to block interviews, definitely meetings. And then you want to block times for phone calls and emails. This is essential, and I think we talk about it a little later. And then action lists, and of course review time. That has to be blocked also. And I think we'll show you on a week. I think you see it on the bottom of the weekly calendar. Every day, at the end of the day, we review our time.
Yeah, and since we've covered sales training with you, one of the most important things you should be blocking first, I've worked with this on everybody, is selling time for consultations. And I'll tell you, many clients, previously would just, someone calls up and, wants information. They're just scrambling to fit in a consultation as soon as they could, or wherever they had an opening. And so that way they're letting the prospect control their schedule, and they're in a response mode. And you can't be effective if you're operating in a reactive mode to other people's priorities as a business owner. And as a leader. So you have to set the schedule, the priorities, and then plug people into that. So what I advise everybody to do is get out their calendar, and the first thing you're going to do is with your sales training is block time for selling. And generally, there's no consultations being done in the morning. Most people are doing in the afternoon and then in the evening. So they may have one in the afternoon and then one blocked in the evening, and those are 2 consults a day, and then maybe there's more if there's higher volume. and then maybe Saturday morning, midday for a couple more that can't fit in. And so as people respond to marketing campaigns, they request a consultation. They're just plugged into the next available time that's open, the slot that's open. So you're just plugging people into blocks, which is the most important thing. And then if you don't have somebody for that block, then that's your cue to use that time to implement some more marketing so that you can fill up the selling time, and really keep yourself accountable to putting people in front of you during that block selling time that you can present to and close as new clients for the business. So interviews, consults, those are the most important things you need to block time for first. Those really drive your revenue. And then the other things like management, obviously, time for your weekly reviews, time to work on project work, like just time for even going through these lessons each week, having that blocked, both to watch the review the lesson and then also work on the homework each week. So important for you to be effective and productive.
Yeah, if you don't get it on this calendar, chances are it won't get done.
Yep. Okay, now once you have blocked time and then you execute, your schedule for the week or for the day of the week, you want to review that and review, because you're going to have, the plan is never 100% the actual. There's things that come up that are going to push you off track, especially early on as you're really getting disciplined about holding that line with your block time and executing it. You want to review your plan versus actual activity so that you can adjust and look at where you can improve, maybe where your systems broke down, where your discipline broke down, where you let other people intrude on your time. And so you then can assess that and adjust going forward. So let's talk about the review process, Dick.
Yeah, we recommend, as you can see on the screen, for a daily review, 10 to 20 minutes. And I remember in my working days, every day ended the same way. I would look, take my calendar out, take a look at it, and actually just review my entire day because it's fresh and it's easy to do. And then did I have carryovers for the following day? Did I meet my goals or did I not? And I would make adjustments right there so that when I came in the next morning, bang, I'm off and running. I'm hitting the street running. And then on a weekly basis, I would take, sometimes mine usually took about an hour at the end of a week. Friday afternoons are, things are getting pretty quiet anyway. And I would take about an hour to review my previous week. How did I do? What is going to carry over now? Did I meet all my goals? And the main thing is that this is a disciplinary thing that you do for yourself. Without review, you will never know where you are in the process. But even with a mediocre or poor review, you'll be a lot better off. And then, of course, on a monthly basis, that takes a little more time and, maybe half a day to a full day of review. And there again, on your calendar, you would block out a half a day a month, just for review. But these are things that we even show and that we block out on a very, on a disciplined basis. Each month I'm going to do a review. Each week I'm going to do one. And every day I do my review.
Yep, and I'll tell you that on the weekly review, sometimes that can take a little longer as you're getting in the groove, and then as you get more efficient about doing this and getting it done, then you'll start to do it faster. The monthly, we're doing a long time, 2 days, and now in our company review for the last few years, and then we got it down to really about a day and a half, not even half a day. So the more you do it, the more efficient you get at this process. Just like anything, practice makes you better. So, but what it all comes down to is this question, because as you get busy, and you're going to get busy, and there's going to be a lot coming at you, when you don't know what the heck's going on, and it feels out of control, which it will. This is the question you should always ask yourself: what's the most important thing I could be doing right now? And the answer to that question is exactly what you should be doing. Don't get caught up in the ticky-tacky stuff that's not driving the growth of your business.
Yeah, when people first start becoming involved with the time management system, they have a tendency to load it up with stuff just so that they got a big list. And oftentimes there's a lot of trivial things on here that really don't move you forward towards your goals and towards the vision that you've established. So every once in a while you want to stop, Just stop it during your day and say, what's the most important thing I could really be doing right now? And then you look at your list. Is it something on the action list, or is it one of your major projects that you could be working on? But the main thing is that what you're working on in the present must move you forwards towards your goals. This is the fun part of this thing. How could you possibly fail? Well, we like to use the term time vampires because, a vampire just, basically sucks the blood out of you. And of course, from a time management standpoint, they're going to suck the blood out of you and just eat up your time. And you wonder, who are they and what are they? And for the most part, your time vampires are people that are going to give you the most trouble. They're very well-intentioned people, and inevitably they'll be business colleagues and associates, or in some cases, your boss and friends and family. And I always like to tell a story that a few years ago, when I first went to work for my German company that I retired with, I get to work about 7:30, 7:45, and about 8:30, my boss would walk in with a cup of coffee and sit down in front of my desk and start talking. And I didn't quite know how to handle all of this because I'm a little new at it, but I wanted to tell him to get up and leave my office, but I couldn't do that. So finally, after a couple of weeks, I asked him, I says, Hans, why do you do this? He says, oh, well, at DuPont, we always did that. Every morning we'd go around and chat with all of our subordinates. I says, well, it really doesn't have that much effect on me. I'd prefer that we didn't do this. Why can't we chat at lunchtime or something? Oh, well, okay. So by setting this example here, or the standard, he finally stopped doing that because it was doing nothing but wasting my very productive time because I'm most productive in the mornings. So even your bosses can be can treat you a little tough, but mainly it's business colleagues, associates, and friends, and of course family does it. They'll do it to you too. And so these three are the most interesting questions you'll ever get. Have you got a minute? Somebody walks in, and a lot in business, your colleagues are going to walk in, or your subordinates are going to walk in, have you got a minute? Because when they come in and say, have you got a minute, they've got something very important to talk about. And their priorities probably aren't your priorities. So, you have to make a decision what you're going to do with it. And then the other question is, of course, are you busy? Well, no, I'm not busy. I've been sitting here waiting for you to come in, A little facetious, but that's the way it is. Did I catch you at a good time? Yeah, again, I'm sitting here waiting for you to come in and waste some of my time. So you have to there's some defensive things you can do to manage this. And of course, the best one of all is communication. Let people know when you can be disturbed, when you cannot be disturbed, because there's a interesting statistic that when you're on a project working and you have a thought process that requires continuity of thought, and somebody interrupts you, it takes about 20 minutes to get back to the level of intensity that you were putting towards that project in the first place. So as you can see, it's not just a 30-second or a 1-minute interruption. It's more like a 20-minute interruption. So for the most part, if your door is open, you're telling people it's okay to come in, and communicate with your people and let them know that when the door is closed, stay away. And then also let them know what your schedule is, and when you have your free time and you're willing to spend more time with them. I used to always say, yeah, I'd be glad to meet you. Come in after 5 or 5:30. Well, guess how many people came to see me? Not very many. So, but make your own, set of rules and keep the discipline. Don't let them knock you off schedule.
Yeah, and this is your family as well. You need to communicate, especially as an entrepreneur, you're going to be busy at different times and putting in more work than most people to grow a business. So, you have to communicate to the family as well that, there's times that if you're focused on a project and, working in your home office, doors closed, don't bother me. And if that can't be resolved, then you go elsewhere to an environment where you can get focused work done, because that's the best for everybody. Is when you're working and you're hard and focused and being productive, and when you're not working, you're spending time to relax and enjoy yourself and giving others the full attention of your time, as opposed to doing poorly at both. So very important that you create that discipline and structure and hold the line with it. This is a great one. Don't answer your phone. can't tell you how many times, even today, sometimes I'll be in a meeting with somebody and their phone rings and they answer their phone, and I think, gosh, how, number one, how rude, right? But number two, how inefficient and productive, because they're not going to be effectively able to answer that phone, speak to someone on the phone, and therefore they're breaking their continuity of thought in our meeting, in our production time that that we've blocked to get something done. So nobody wins, really. Nobody wins. And you have to understand, just because the phone rings, it doesn't mean you need to answer it. That's what voicemail is for. That's what answering machines are for. And unless there's blood or fire, then I'm sure they'll work it out, and they'll be able to wait a few hours. And if there is fire or blood, call 911. Don't call me, because what am I going to do about it? Not much. I'm busy. You need to get that really disciplined about blocking distractions and not being sucked into these things that are inefficient and unproductive. When you do have blocked time, you do have meetings. Turn the phone off. Turn it back on when you're done, and if you got a voicemail, you handle it then. There's no emergency that can't be resolved, without you for a few hours.
Yeah, just another quick point on that. You may even want to program your answering machine with a message such as, this is so-and-so, and I'm not available right now, but I usually answer my phone calls between 4 and 6 o'clock in the afternoons, or any block of time that you want to spend, answering those phone calls. But if you let people know, this gives them a great opportunity to go ahead and leave their message, or to call back some other time.
Yep, and it's also great, you can schedule the time to return phone calls, schedule the time for emails, as opposed to doing these things, in a reactive mode just when they happen. Someone else sends you an email, someone else calls you. Well, who cares? Are you just sitting there, ready to respond to emails the second they arrive in your inbox, or answer phone calls just when somebody feels like, giving you a ring? No, that's not an efficient way to run your business or run your life. That's what you should be blocking time to then go do it during your batch time. I'll tell you today, I don't take any incoming phone calls unless there is just a few VIPs that I would take an incoming phone call from. That's about it. Everybody else, my staff takes a message gets routed to me. If it's something that is worth my time to schedule a call, I have blocked time. Generally, right now, Mondays and Wednesdays afternoons, and they know how to plug people into my next available slot. And if someone absolutely can't fit into one of those times and it's emergency, they come to me and review it and see if I'm willing to open up another time slot. But generally, it doesn't happen, because there's no, if it's a priority to someone else, then they'll make it work, and find the time if they need to speak to me. And so, I encourage you to employ a similar strategy at some point, is to get a filter system in place like administrative assistant, and someone can handle a lot of the stuff for you and help schedule things into your pre-blocked time, so you can be efficient and effective, as opposed to being running your business and your life in a reactive mode. Somebody has to be in reactive mode, at times, for the business from a customer service standpoint and such, but that person should not be you. It cannot be you as a driver of the business to really be effective. When you're answering phone calls or emails, that's like $10 an hour labor, right? Versus even you training a client yourself, you can earn at least, 60, 70, 80 bucks an hour, maybe more. And if you're, managing the business, you're doing that for a team of people. So, it really is a very inefficient use of your time, and especially to do it in a response fashion and just letting other people dictate your priorities, which is, you just can't run a business that way. Okay, it's all about you. Dick, why don't you talk to this?
Yeah, this is of course, it's, when we talk, it's all about you. It's about the vision, that you have, that's how you're going to run your business, and where you want to, ultimately be. And it's also about commitment. What are you committing, to support, this vision, and then the discipline that's required to, exercise this commitment and to manage it, and to make sure that whatever you're doing is it's congruent with your vision and the goals that you've set for yourself. So when we say it's all about you, this is what it really is all about: vision, commitment, and of course discipline.
Absolutely. So let's get into some of these worksheets, because I think doing these worksheets is really going to kind of help take you through some of these exercises that need to be done to start getting these things in place for yourself. So let's go ahead and pull those up. And Dick, why don't you take us through these worksheets?
Yeah, we started this worksheet about 4 years ago, and we've worked on it a little bit since. But one of the really the best question on there for me is, what would a perfect day look like to you, and what would you accomplish in a perfect day? And by that we don't mean get up at 10 o'clock and work out and have lunch and spend the afternoon on the beach. This is not what we're talking about. The perfect day is how you're balancing your day with your family life, your professional life. What do you want to accomplish in a perfect day? And some people we see, they'd like to get up and of course be able to take their kids to school, come back and start their work, and then be able to finish early in the afternoon so they can go get their kids and bring them home and then finish off their work in the evening. So it's how do you want to set up your day so that it makes you feel good and you get the things done, that you want to get done. And we talk about, what would you accomplish? How many hours would you work? How much uninterrupted time would you have? And how much time would you spend on email and the phone? And there again, this is extremely important, and it comes up a lot. You've got to block these times out. And as far as being in your perfect day, they're going to be blocked somewhere in that perfect day. And then how much time in meetings, and sometimes you can control those, sometimes you can't. But generally speaking, what would be the ideal situation for meetings? And then what other aspects would make it a perfect day? And that might be, in my perfect day, for example, I have a couple hours blocked just for reading time. So, what would you put that into your perfect day? And to me, it's important. To you, it may not be important. Then what's the most important thing you do, for the company on a daily basis? This is something that you want to really think out, because it's going to affect the long-term health and welfare of your company. And then what functions of your role bring the most value to your organization, and how much added value could they bring if you devoted more time to them? So you can see why these questions are key to your success. Because if there's one skill set that you have that really adds to your bottom line, if you do more of it, is it going to add more to the bottom line? This is where we're getting. Then you want to kind of think about what's your most productive time. And what is your most creative time? And sometimes they're not one and the same. Creative time is really the time when you're either creating new thoughts, or you're working on vision, or you're especially long-term vision. Whereas productive time, that's probably more when you're on your project time. And then of course one of the big questions, what can be delegated? This is a key issue. How much can you give someone else to do, which frees you up to do things that are, again, that what you bring the most value, to your organization from. And then there are some, deeper thought-provoking questions just for personal reflection. And we get into that a little further, I think, also here. And it's, what are you really living for? What is it that you want to, do with your life? And we talk about, what is your mission in life? And every one of us has something that we do better than anybody else. And these are the things that we want to think about and want to spend some real time. This requires a lot of time, this part, because, once you start thinking about it, sometimes you get a little, if you're not committed to what your mission is, then you're going to blunder with this a little bit and have to spend a lot of time on working it out. But it's something only you can work out. That's why we bring these questions up. And then, what do you hope to do in your life? And this again is, what's your legacy? What do you want to leave?
Yeah, and I think, we do these exercises first. You can see we're really working on vision here, is helping you to define where your time is best spent, and really visualize yourself in the future, in that kind of perfect scenario where you're most productive, you're most effective, and you're fulfilled. You're enjoying your life, you're enjoying your career, and balancing those roles between your personal life and your professional life. So we're going to keep coming back to this vision throughout this course at every level. We did work on it at the beginning. We're doing work on it again now. We're going to keep working on this together with you. And this is just another context. We're looking at that now. And I bet having worked through, the course material you have already, you now have a different appreciation for this, and we'll come at it even a different way. And that's why we're going to keep revisiting this again and again. So this is the future stuff, working on that vision and really defining, again, where you add the most value, what your strengths are, what you're passionate about, you enjoy, all that kind of stuff. Now we're going to look at what are you doing right now. We're going to go through this brain dump exercise. This is a great exercise. We do it. We've done this with so many clients, and we continue to revisit this with them. And anytime that I know myself, I kind of feel myself just not in sync, I go through this, clean up, and just kind of clean things up. This is where you're just writing down what are the activities you're doing every year right now. What's a annual kind of activity for you? Again, personal and professional. If you want to draw a line down the middle and list one for each, you can do that. And then looking at every quarter. And then also, what are things that you should be doing every year, but you're not doing? And same thing with quarterly. Maybe like your taxes that you forgot about. Quarterly meeting with your CPA. Legal activities.
One of the things that we rarely see on this in the first pass is vacation.
Yep.
And it's a big deal.
Everybody kind of forgets that about the vacation piece, but you need that to mentally take a break and be at your best. You've got to have that down here. What else? We have activities in a month, and this is going to be kind of the big control. And so most things are in a monthly time frame. So you've got a full page for going through this and all kinds of activities, again, in your personal life and professional life that must be done on that frequency and that time frame. And then we look at the week and, of course, the day. And what I encourage you to do is just, block an hour, go through as much of this as you can with yourself, and then leave it. And then share it with, as we said, a friend or family, a member or colleague, and go back through it again. And they'll be able to help stimulate things that you forgot and you just were out of your frame of reference at the time you complete this. And you'll see there's about 30% more stuff that usually gets added with a second pass with another person involved. So this is a great exercise. When we do live trainings with this stuff, we usually pair people up, and they do it first individually, and they pair up, and then they review, and they add to each other's list things that, oh, geez, I forgot about that. And, there you go. There's another 30% that they missed on the first pass. So as you start to lay this all out, and then not just the activities, but how much time it takes to do those activities, you start to realize, you add up like a week and all the activities, and they've got 95 hours in a week. Well, guess what? That's not going to work. There's only so many hours in a week, and certainly so many hours that you can be effective and productive in a week. So therefore, what on that list again needs to get delegated, needs to get trashed. Whatever needs to happen to it, but you can't do it all. It's not physically possible. And then I'm sure there's 3 or 4 activities on there that you're only dedicating a certain amount of time to now, but those drive the most growth. Those add the most value to the bottom line of your organization. So what if you got all these other things out of the way and just expanded the time that you invest on those 3 or 4 big activities that drive the growth of your organization where you add the most value? What would happen in business? Well, in most cases, it would double or triple. So really looking at this, reevaluating and prioritizing where you spend time in the business and what you prioritize, you now get to really see, kind of the concrete facts of those decisions you make and the consequences of trying to do everything yourself and getting sucked into a lot of things that are reactive activities that, again, don't effectively add a lot of value to the bottom line. And then the same thing on a daily level. And again, including time in there, guess what people miss here? Well, they put all this stuff down, and it's like, 60 hours in a day or whatever, and they don't even have sleep, they don't have eat, they don't have workout, those things, time to relax before they go to sleep, and time with family. You can't pack in 20 hours in a day. It just doesn't work. You can't sleep 4 hours, and you can't be effective for 18 hours because you gotta you need more than 6 hours because you gotta have time to eat and use the bathroom and hopefully take a shower and brush your teeth. I mean, the normal life things that we all need to to function and to be effective. So you've got to look at that and really look at how much productive time do I really have in a day. Some people it's maybe an hour is all they really have because of all the other things they got going on, and things they're involved in. So we got to look at, again, not just it's not about adding more things to your plate to be efficient and more productive. It's about looking at what can be taken off your plate to make more room to expand the things that do add the most value to your business and to your life.
Yeah, just a little side note. For me, the first time that I did this brain dump and got all this on paper and looked at it, I was amazed at how much stuff was rattling around in my head. And at that point, I realized there was no way that I could have ever managed all of those thoughts. You have to get it on paper, and that's what this worksheet will do for you. This worksheet must be completed, or you're not going to go forward. You're not going to have a system that's effective.
Yep. And then after you've done that, now reviewing everything you did and kind of the vision work and, again, the brain dump, now start making a list of what would your perfect day look like. What time would you get up? What would you do first? When would you go to work? When would you go home? When would you take a break? All those things. Just start to outline, the hours and what would your activities look like on a perfect day. And then in a perfect week, what would you be doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the 7 days of the week, and start to play with that. And now going through that exercise and plugging in, highlighting what out of that brain dump, what are the things that add the most value to my organization? What are the things I enjoy the most? Well, put those in first. And then, see what's left over. And you're going to see as you start working on this, and I encourage you to get a blank calendar and just start plugging in these blocks of time for these different types of activities that you've determined for yourself through this exercise are important. You're going to see that, time, as the saying goes, time flies. It really does. I mean, there's so many days, I'll tell you, just in the office here where I go, geez, it's 5 o'clock already. Are you kidding me? Or it's 5:30, and I look up and people have left, and I wasn't even aware anyone left the office. But apparently, it's 5:30 and people are gone. Luckily, I got a few employees that stay after 5 and keep working. But some of the administrative staff, 5 o'clock, 5:15, they're out the door. So you realize that time really flies, and there isn't that much. So you better make sure what you've got you're using well. Okay, so that's really the homework, is to work on these worksheets for this lesson, and we're going to finish up with just a couple things. The homework for this week is to complete the Managing Your Time worksheets, and then after you've gone through, kind of outline that perfect day, perfect week, get a calendar, one calendar you're going to use, and you decide whether it's a digital calendar like the Microsoft Outlook or Google or something like that, or a paper calendar. Most people are on digital calendars today.
Even me.
Even Dick, we got on Outlook, and I'll tell you, that was after he swore that he would never, ever go to a digital calendar. And when was that? About a year ago?
About a year now.
We got him on our Outlook, which goes to our Microsoft Exchange server with the whole organization, the whole company. So we even got Dick on a digital calendar. So if Dick's on it,
we know everybody can do it.
Everybody can do it. Well said. So, start to now block those times. Block that selling time we talked about. Block time for sleep. Block time for your own fitness. And you'll start plugging things in. You realize that, the saying goes, first things first, right? Really, because that's all you have time for is the most important things. There isn't much more to be doing lots of ticky-tacky stuff. So, you got to prioritize and make sure you hit the important things first and foremost. Okay, that finishes our lesson for the day. And coming up next lesson, we're going to get some more training, and I'll be back with Dick as well on time management. We'll talk more about prioritizing. And we'll talk about roles, which is a really important topic in balancing all the roles that we have to play in our life, in our professional and personal life, and integrate the two. Again, there's only one of you, but we'll have to look at how do you balance that out. So we're going to talk about that in our next lesson, and look forward to speaking with you again soon.
All right, take care, guys. We'll look forward to it.
Bye-bye.